The biggest challenge for us as a growing technology company was always, being able to focus on the needs of the customer segment that was going to be the early adopter of our product, right? And and not just on the higher profile, smart cities.
In part one of my conversation with Matt Caywood, the founder and CEO of Transitscreen, he told us about his efforts to help organizations manage the complex transportation needs of their employees. In this second part of our conversation, Matt goes into more detail about some of the unique strategies he's employed to land his first customers. And he also shares some interesting hiring philosophies that involves ascertaining where a potential employee can go, not just where they've been. Matt, I'm excited to continue our conversation now to understand for you this past 7 years to grow your own startup and continue to scale it with its, I'm sure, your own choice of hurdles to overcome. Can you share any insight? What is it like to take, okay, you have the technology and as one who understands intimately the technology itself as an engineer, now being able to market it and grow the company. If there was one insight that you could share with another technology leader, another entrepreneur, well, what would you share?
I think the biggest challenge for us as a growing technology company was always, being able to focus on the needs of the customer segment that was going to be the early adopter of our product, right? And not just on the higher profile, smart cities, very exciting area, a lot of potential, long-term projects that are maybe not going to deliver in any reasonable time frame or at all, right? So when we had to kind of look at opportunities early on, we were looking at everything, right? As you do when you're trying to go to market. And I think the challenge for us was always, saying, this is what we're going to be. We're going to be a company that helps businesses with their transportation challenges. And we're not going to be, working in the, transit agency space as much. We're not going to be doing, smart city Dubai projects, right? We're going to be, really focused on what we do. And it's a challenge. It's hard to let go of these things, right? When you think, oh, it wouldn't be so cool if, and that's always the challenge. But if you're going to be successful, you have to really have a strong focus. You can't be B2B and B2C at the same time. It just doesn't work.
Having that focus allows you to then probably put all your efforts in one place to make sure you can then achieve the success. I imagine as you continued on that journey, you honed the messaging and the product itself. If you could share one tactic that you found has worked well when you kind of started to make that first couple initial clients who said, oh yeah, I'll try this out, I'll do it. What did you find that had worked to get them on board and then to start to grow that customer base?
To actually go in with partners in government, because we came from a government program. And I think we've benefited a little bit from this kind of regulatory environment where governments were very interested in helping their real estate developers with solutions that would align them with the transportation outcomes they were hoping for, meaning fewer single occupancy vehicles, fewer cars, et cetera. So we would often kind of go in an approach with some of these governments with their some of their regulatory requirements for new development buildings, and that would be our introduction to a customer. Would be we're solving your government problem, but from there it became something that was very appealing to people, because once they saw Transitscreen live, it would really resonate with them, and they'd say, well, why don't we have this in all of our urban properties instead of just this one.
So using the marketing tactic of regulations, so they already have to follow these anyways. So you come in, you're like, oh, you're solving a problem, a regulation problem. Oh, and actually I like the product itself. That's a fascinating tactic. That makes sense.
Yeah, it's sometimes called, or it's been called regulatory hacking, and it's an interesting methodology. I don't know, that it applies to every single company, but for those that that it does, it can be very powerful.
Uh, for over the years now to grow, you as a business leader, your team has grown. What does your team look like right now, and how have you developed that?
Yeah, so we have a team about 30 to 35 based in Washington, D.C. Under normal circumstances, we'd be all in the same office with only a couple remote people. And, everyone would be either taking metro or biking or walking or, scootering to work. No one drove. And, so you talk about, using your own product, talking about both in terms of transportation and in terms of the information. We really do that. So that's been a kind of key value for ours for many years. We also have a very we've got a diverse team. Washington D.C. is a great market for that, as well as one that is well divided up between engineering and sales and marketing and customer support. It's not really dominated by one group or another. It's really more kind of even distribution of skill sets across the whole organization.
Any insights you can share of what you've learned in growing a team that you're like, wow, I'm glad I know this now, you can share?
I think, when you're growing a team, to that size, you really have to focus on, and I think, and maybe this would be obvious in retrospect, but you have to focus on bringing in people who have the skills already to get you to the next level, right? And so it's always helpful to look at people with backgrounds, companies, one step above or maybe two steps above, but not like 15 steps above. Basically you're trying to hire for this, this skill set that's going to serve you well over the next 24 to 36 months. And if those people can grow with you, then that's even better, right? And many of the people that we've hired have been coming from previously successful startups or other enterprises in the DC area. And, but they've also been people who are, capable of a lot of personal growth and professional growth. And I think that's the pattern, when we make good hiring decisions.
What kind of difficulties do you see you'll need to overcome to be able to grow in this new environment, but also you as a leader and the way your organization is and taking it to the next level?
Yeah, so, being remote, at least temporarily has been, a challenge for, I think, everyone. And certain parts of organization, like our engineering staff, were already very much set up for being remote. So that's been easier for that part of the team. But, sales, harder to do remote, right? As we all know that. And so, the biggest challenge really, for the next couple months is just making sure that our organization is continuing to operate at a high level, in a time when, everyone's, including our customers, are dealing with a lot of challenges, right? So we're very much, in this mode where we're trying to get through it. And then we've got, as I mentioned, a couple of very exciting new products that are, larger kind of enterprise products that we're working on, that are going to be, very impactful for us as a company, really take us more into the realm of enterprise type company over the next, 6 months to a year. And we want to be as successful with that transition as we have with, the growth of our software as a service product. I continue to think that the people who are best placed to solve, transportation challenges are often, not necessarily the people you think of, not necessarily the UPS or the Uber or, transit agencies, the operators. It's often the people who are actually, changing the incentives that affect people's behavior, right? It's just like with the transformation of the workplace with, hot desking and offices and flex work. Like it's the same thing, but for transportation. And this is something that I think is a pervasive trend that's going to be affecting us. Remote work, distributed work is part of it, but even within an office environment, it's also, everything is getting more flexible. And that's really the power of automation and information technology, right? Applied to this area and this sector of the economy that was previously not highly automated.
What do you see as overall technology innovations as you pay attention to different trends and things? What do you see as tech innovations that you predict we'll see in the near term, the next year or two, and long term, 10 years?
Yeah, so in the short term, over the next couple of years, I'm very bullish on e-bikes. I think it has the potential to really transform a lot of cities. You're starting to see this in Europe, right? Like a lot of cities, a lot of people in countries like Germany, not just the Netherlands, not just Amsterdam, but like Germany, Paris, like other places. People are actually buying more e-bikes than they are buying regular pedal bikes, right? And so suddenly that really expands the footprint of places that you can commute, and using a bike primarily. I'm mainly a bike commuter. I do that probably 75% of the time. And so, if we can kind of, catalyze that, reshape our cities a little bit. We talk to a lot of employers who are actually giving bikes to their employees because they're not sure, what's going to happen in a few months, with transit. So everyone gets an e-bike, right? Now you've got to figure out how to park those. So there's a lot of potential to change, pretty significant fraction. Obviously, not going to work for every city and every suburb or exurban office site, but a lot of urban sites I think could be really impacted by this. In the slightly longer term, I think you look at some of the changes that you're going to see from autonomous low-speed shuttles. So maybe not that high speed personal vehicle that's been on the horizon for a very long time now, but like just a shuttle that moves people around an office park or a large facility that's autonomous. Like that kind of technology is getting very close, and it's something that needs to be integrated into the rest of the transportation framework, right? So as providers of information, we can help with that integration process. And so that's another thing I'm pretty excited about.
Have you seen a company using AI, machine learning, or other technology to transform the way we live, work, and do business? Go to uptechreport.com and let us know.